Nothing dramatic happened. That's what makes it so hard to explain. You had a home, you had food, you had people around you. From the outside, everything looked normal, but inside there was a quiet absence. No one really asked how you felt. No one stayed long enough to understand your inner world. No one noticed the small emotional shifts happening inside you, so you stopped expecting them to. You became self-sufficient. You didn't cry loudly. You didn't demand attention. You learned how to handle things on your own. And here's the paradox. The less you needed, the more you were praised. You're so mature. You're so independent. You're so easy to take care of. But what no one saw was this. You weren't low need. You were under-supported. And the survival strategy that once protected you, becoming emotionally self-contained, now quietly disconnects you from others. Quiet neglect is one of the most misunderstood forms of childhood trauma because it leaves no obvious scars. In psychology, this is known as emotional neglect. It is defined not by what was done to you, but by what was consistently missing. A child's emotional development depends on being seen, mirrored, and responded to. When this doesn't happen, the nervous system adapts. One adaptation is emotional suppression. The child learns that expressing feelings does not lead to connection, so they stop expressing them. Another key mechanism is hyperindependence. Instead of relying on others, the child turns inward. They become their own regulator, their own comfort, their own support system. Over time, this creates a form of avoidant attachment. Connection feels unfamiliar. Dependence feels uncomfortable. Vulnerability feels unsafe. The brain's default mode network, responsible for self-identity, forms around this pattern. Instead of developing through shared emotional experiences, identity develops in isolation. You don't learn who you are through connection. You learn how to function without it. The cost of quiet neglect is not loud pain. It is silent emptiness. Carl Jung wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." That is the essence of this wound. You may be surrounded by people and still feel unseen. You learn to minimize yourself, your needs, your emotions, your presence. You became adaptable, flexible, invisible. Seneca once said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." But quiet neglect creates a different kind of suffering. Not fear, not panic, but absence of emotional resonance. You were not rejected. You were simply not fully received. And that creates a subtle but powerful belief. My inner world does not matter. Rilke spoke of the importance of being witnessed, of having someone truly see you. But when that witnessing is absent in childhood, you grow up searching for it, quietly, carefully, without asking too much. Children who were quietly neglected often grow into adults who appear highly functional, but their internal patterns reveal a deeper story. You might recognize yourself in these behaviors. In relationships, you struggle to express needs. You tell yourself, it's not a big deal. Even when it is, you become the one who adjusts, rather than the one who asks. In emotional expression, you feel disconnected from your own emotions, not because they aren't there, but because you were never taught how to access them. In self-worth, you believe your value comes from being easy to love, not from being fully known. In boundaries, you tolerate more than you should, because conflict feels unfamiliar and uncomfortable. In career, you work quietly. You avoid drawing attention to yourself. You hope your efforts will be noticed, but rarely advocate for recognition. In identity, you struggle to answer a simple question: what do I want? Because your focus was always on adapting, not choosing. These are not flaws. They are adaptations. They helped you survive an environment where emotional connection was inconsistent or absent. But survival is not the same as living. And unlearning begins with recognizing that your needs were never the problem. Healing from quiet neglect begins with a simple but profound shift. You start acknowledging what was missing, not with blame, but with honesty. Inner child work allows you to reconnect with the part of you that learned to be low need. You begin asking, what did I need that I never received? And more importantly, how can I begin offering that to myself now? Shadow work helps you explore the suppressed parts of yourself, the emotions you learned to hide, the desires you learned to minimize. These parts are not weaknesses. They are unfinished conversations. Nervous system regulation becomes essential because emotional neglect teaches the body to exist in a state of quiet detachment. Practices like grounding, breath work, and mindfulness help restore a sense of internal safety. But perhaps the most important step is this. You allow yourself to need, slowly, gently. You let yourself ask for support. You let yourself express discomfort. You let yourself take up space. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And for someone who was quietly neglected, acceptance means embracing the parts of you that were once ignored. Your needs, your emotions, your presence. You were never too much. You were simply not met enough. If this message resonated with something deep inside you, share it with someone who learned to be strong too early. And if you want to continue exploring the hidden patterns that shape your life, subscribe and stay. Because awareness is where healing begins. And remember, the goal is not to be fixed, but to become whole.